I couldn't help but feel a pang of excitement as I pulled up to the address on my client list. Today's appointment was with a man named John, who was looking to buy a new house for himself and his wife. As I approached the front door, I took a deep breath and reminded myself to be professional. This was just another house showing, after all. But something about this particular client made me nervous. John answered the door with a warm smile, and any remaining nerves melted away. We chatted for a few minutes before I started the tour, discussing his needs and preferences in a house. As we moved from room to room, our conversation flowed easily. John had a great sense of humor and an infectious laugh that put me at ease. But then things took an unexpected turn when we reached the master bedroom. John stood in the middle of the room, looking around with a thoughtful expression on his face. "This would be perfect for my wife," he said with a wistful sigh. I nodded approvingly and started listing off all of the room's features, but he wasn't really listening. His eyes were fixed on something else entirely, me. "You know," he said slowly, "you have amazing eyes." I blushed at the compliment and looked away shyly. "Thank you," I stammered. "That's very kind of you to say." He stepped closer until there were only inches between us. "And your smile," he continued in a low voice that sent shivers down my spine. "It could light up an entire room." My heart was pounding in my chest as I tried to find words to respond with, but without success. Just then my phone rang, breaking the silence. We were both engulfed in "sorry." I apologized while pulling out my phone from my pocket. It's fine, take it," he assured me. No, it work policy, I have to see, it's an emergency." As I looked at my phone, my excitement turned to dread. It was my husband calling, and I knew something must be wrong for him to call me during the workday. "Hey babe, is everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep the worry out of my voice. "Yeah, everything's fine," he replied. "I just wanted to see how your day was going. Are you busy right now?" I glanced at John and bit my lip nervously. Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of a house showing." "Is there something you need?" "Oh, sorry," he said with a hint of disappointment in his voice. "I'll let you get back to work then." "Love you." "Love you too," I replied automatically before hanging up. Great, I thought to myself. Now my husband knows that something is up. I quickly tucked my phone back into my pocket and turned back to John with an apologetic smile. But when I saw the look on his face, all thoughts of my husband flew out the window. "Is everything okay?" he asked with concern in his eyes. "Yes, everything's fine," I assured him hastily. It was just a quick check-in from my husband. John nodded slowly but didn't say anything else. Instead, he continued looking at me intently as if trying to read something in my expression. My heart started pounding again as I realized what this meant. John was attracted to me. Suddenly, the tension between us was palpable. He took a step closer and reached out tentatively as if unsure if he should touch me or not. His fingers gently traced down the curve of my cheek before he tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "You're so beautiful," he whispered hoarsely. His touch sent shivers down my spine, and I felt a rush of heat between my legs. I was torn between the desire to push him away and the overwhelming urge to surrender to this forbidden attraction. Before I could decide what to do, John's lips were on mine in a fierce, possessive kiss. The world around us faded away as we lost ourselves in the intoxicating taste and feel of each other. I melted against him as his hands roamed over my body, igniting a fire within me that burned brighter with every touch. He pressed me against the wall, his body flush against mine, as he devoured me with an urgency that matched my own. His fingers deftly unbuttoned my blouse, revealing the lacy bra that barely contained my chest. He groaned appreciatively at the sight. A moan escaped from deep within me as he lowered his head and kissed me right below the collarbone. The sensation was unlike anything I had ever experienced before, and it sent waves of pleasure coursing through every nerve ending in my body. Desire pooled between my thighs as I desperately craved more of his touch. With trembling hands, I fumbled with his belt buckle and quickly freed him from the confines of his pants. He gasped as I touched him slowly. His eyes darkened with lust as he watched me discovering his body, and it only fueled my own need. Unable to wait any longer, I pushed his pants down around his ankles and dropped to my knees. He groaned in ecstasy as I explored his body with my lips and tongue, savoring the salty taste of him. I was feeling a sense of power and satisfaction at being able to bring him this much pleasure. The tension in his body grew taut as he neared the edge, and I could tell he was close. But just as I thought he was about to come undone, he pulled me back up to my feet and kissed me fiercely. With a swift motion, he unhooked my bra and let it fall to the floor. His touch was bordering on the line between pleasure and pain, as our tongues danced together in a desperate frenzy. Then, without warning, he spun me around and pressed me against the wall with a force that took my breath away. I braced myself for what was about to come, figuratively speaking, but nothing could have prepared me for what came next. He bent me over slightly before he was pressing himself against me, slowly but determined. A cry escaped from my lips at the intensity of his movement. He began to move slowly at first, allowing us both time to adjust to this new level of intimacy. But soon the pace quickened as our bodies moved together in perfect harmony. Each movement sent shockwaves of pure ecstasy coursing through me, building the tension to an almost unbearable level. I clawed at the wall for support as my legs threatened to give way under the overwhelming wave of pleasure. John's grip on my hips tightened as he moved with a primal urgency that matched my own. Our bodies were slick with sweat as we moved together in a frenzy of need and desire. I could feel the familiar tingle deep in my core. The coil of tension within me grew tighter and tighter until finally it snapped and I was sent hurtling over the edge. Wave after wave of ecstasy crashed over me harder than ever before. But John wasn't far behind. With a guttural groan, he went over the precipice, marking me as his own. We stood there panting and trembling for what felt like an eternity, lost in our own little world of pleasure. Then reality came crashing back in as we both realized what we had just done. In an unnatural hurry, we dressed and I stammered some words about the right houses for him and that I will give him a call as soon as I found a suitable object. But when I left through his door, I didn't realize yet, it was the last time we ever saw.